Welcome back to Zollypod. I'm your host, Preston Moore, joined by my co-host, Carson Terrell. Carson, we have been gone for a little while. I think a lot of people thought we were dead, but we're not.
This is a little bit of when Palpatine returned in The Rise of Skywalker. This is our moment. We're Ian McDiarmid at the end of the first trailer, and everyone is perplexed on why. But we're defying all odds right now.
Somehow Zollypod returned. Somehow Zollypod returned against all the odds, truly. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I just kind of think that we should just kind of explain in this episode what's been going on, because it is kind of difficult to maintain a podcast regularly in 2025 when you have full-time jobs and you're busy and you have your life. And Carson, you have had more significant life updates than I've had in the last 2 years, or however long it's been since we've recorded one.
And I cannot believe, first of all, that it's been like 2 years. I think I got an email the other day because I think put like our subscription on hold for like, because like people forget when you have a podcast, like you have to like continually like update it. Otherwise it will be like, your episodes will go away in 42 days. And I was like, oh crap. And like literally as soon as that, or like before that even happened, we had started texting back and forth like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we brought this back? And then lo and behold, here we are. Well, yeah, like all I can really say is life has been busy in a good way. Work has been really busy. I got married this year.
That's what I was going to say. Life has been very busy in a good way for you. And
yes,
you got married
in a
Carson.
great way. And I think we're just both like at that stage of our life, like mid-20s, just like I feel like everyone is having major life events like every other month. I don't know if it feels like that in your life too, where
Absolutely.
It's like, oh my gosh, I feel so obligated to like do all these different things for other people and like show up and do, obviously it's all fun, but like it adds up, and it kind of feels like life on the road, going to weddings every other weekend is the best way I could describe it. But yeah, how about you, Preston? I know you've been busy too. What have you been up to? What's going on?
I am not married. That has not changed. I can confidently say from our last recording, compared to now, I am no closer to getting married than I was then.
You mean our Ahsoka season 1 review didn't have people in your DMs
It didn't. Yeah,
immediately?
When we released that, I really thought this is it. This is gonna be. I should have put it in my Tinder or in my Hinge or something. Here's a link to my Star Wars podcast.
Just delete all bios. Just host Zollypod. There's no, it's like no fun facts. Just it's like you get to the fun facts. 3 fun facts about me: host a Zollypod, host a Zollypod, host a Zollypod.
Yeah, host, producer, creator, co-creator,
no
co-host, whatever. Yeah, I'm just gonna link all the episodes, and that's what this is. That's what this is for me. That's why I wanted to bring this podcast back, Carson, is just to hopefully get some women in my DMs. No, I've been pretty busy. I've been living back here in Texas and keeping busy as best I can, doing sports reporting and a lot of other things. Right now, I'm kind of planning some next steps for the future, making hopefully some big life changes over the course of the next year. We'll see kind of what that looks like whenever that sort of does unfurl. But with all of that being said, when it comes to this show, this is something that, people asked, and I know that you and I kind of talked a little bit about this, but people always ask when you announce that you have something like this and then you do like 10 episodes and then it just kind of trails off. People are like, you have a podcast, right? Don't you have a podcast? Or like, when are you still doing that? Is that coming out? And so I've had a lot of people within my life just ask, hey, is this something do you have a podcast? And I'm like, well, yes, I do. And I would like to get back into it. And that kind of got me thinking about it. And I've had a little bit more time on my hands even recently to go to the theater just in general. So I've got there's a lot of movies that I've wanted to talk about in recent months, as well as just some that I didn't get to talk about on here over the course of the last couple of years. And I know that you kind of are in a similar state right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like, ironically, it kind of runs parallel to like, I haven't been able to watch movies as much, because when I do watch movies, it's very much something like, I feel like right now it's like I want to put the intention to it and sit down and not feel distracted. It's like being in the right mindset to like just watch a movie. It sounds so stupid, but it's also like the same way I felt about this bringing this podcast back is like you want to do it right and you want to put intention behind it. And sometimes when I like, I don't know, you ever have that like weird thing where it's like you have all these expectations about a new movie or someone recommends you a movie and you go and you watch it, but you're just like, you're tired, you're not in the right mood, whatever may be happening in your outside life. And you're like, man, like I can't get through this. Like this is good, but I can't give it the appreciation that I want to. I feel like that's kind of been my media diet for the last 2 years, just with how busy I've been. And then you get to a point where you're like, man, I don't know if I could do this and respect the art as much as I would like to. And it sounds so silly. It's like, okay, most people are like, I'm just gonna put on Happy Gilmore 2 on a Friday night and have some
I
laughs.
feel
Which
like
I did watch Happy Gilmore 2 and I had some
I was
laughs.
gonna say personally with Happy Gilmore 2, no disrespect to anyone who worked on Happy Gilmore 2, but I would just kind of put that on and be on my phone maybe for a little bit of it. I'm not gonna lie. I think it was made for that. I
And
think
I
Netflix
feel
like tries that.
exactly. And so I feel like every fiber of like attention span eating like black box that your phone is and like with everything, it's like it's becoming harder and harder to like just break that cycle. And I just felt like I don't know, like if you look at my letterbox, there's probably some months where I watched like one movie.
I think
There might be a
there are some
month on
months
there.
where I missed it, where I just
Yeah,
didn't. I was bad, and our friends have made fun
like
of me
I
relentlessly for this.
oh,
Two
we
of
are
us.
running memes at this point that like yeah, it's like, oh, you didn't watch a movie this week? You might as well be Carson and Preston. And it's like it's a derogatory thing in the group
It's
chat
who
right
we
now.
are. It's tied to our name. We are living
So
memes, and
so
not in a good
maybe in a
way.
way also bringing this back is like just to get back into the swing of things and, not be the guy in the group chat that says they're going to go watch a movie in theaters. Then 3 months goes by. Like I know the other week I was messaging the group chat. I'm like, man, I wish 28 years later it didn't cost $20 to watch. And everyone's just like, you're so stupid. Like you should have gone in June. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should have.
Yep.
And that's what I got
Yep.
on
And
that front.
it's where we're at. It is sort of something like this can kind of, I think it can spur you on to watch a little more because we have become something of a meme within our circles. And to those of them that are listening now, just know you got to, it's done now. We're done with that. We're done with that. We're back and we're going to be watching movies and we are no longer going to be the memes. Now, as far as catching up with a lot of the movies that we missed, I know that that may be difficult. Over the course of the last couple of years, though, there has been a plethora of good movies that have come out, good TV that's come out. And, obviously, we've had some trials in terms of getting to the theater and in terms of watching movies, but I know that neither of us entirely stopped. I know that neither of us missed out on everything. So, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about some of our favorites over the course of the last couple of years. And like we said, there's been a million and one changes over the course of the last 2 years. But Carson, what are some favorites of yours that you've seen, whether they came out in the last 2 years or if you just watched them in the last 2 years, or you've taken a liking to them or something along those lines?
So now I'm trying to tabulate when our last episode was.
This is ballpark.
Was
It was a
okay,
while
was
ago.
was it in 2024 that we last recorded? It had to have been, right?
I would hope
No.
so.
I feel like it's like January 2024. So I'm just going to go with January 2024 as a rough ballpark. And I'm trying to like tabulate from there. Some favorite movies. It's crazy. Like Dune Part 2 has already come out and Dune Part 3 is already filming. And
Yeah.
that's crazy to say that the last time one of our episodes we had interviewed someone who'd worked on the first Dune. And
Right.
it was like, that was really fun. That was one of my favorite episodes that we did. Just seeing that barrel forward as a franchise and be successful was like really cool.
That was that. I mean, that
second
was
movie is
maybe
just as
my
good.
favorite that I've seen.
Yeah,
Maybe ever.
it's awesome.
I watched that movie so many times.
Yeah, I just got the 4K Blu-ray actually, and I'm totally due for a rewatch because I saw it twice in theaters, and I don't think I've actually watched it since it came out in theaters, and I'm really excited to rewatch. But yeah, what a movie! Like, just gorgeous. Again, from a technical perspective, like just makes every modern blockbuster look silly other than Avatar,
Yeah.
Way of Water.
Yeah. Which we will get to Avatar in this episode. I will make sure I'll shoehorn it in if I have to.
We are actually paid by Disney to shill
Yeah.
Avatar Fire and Ash.
We're actually
That is
only
why
bringing this
conveniently,
podcast back because Avatar Fire and Ash is coming out in a couple months.
yeah, this is like a 3-month promotional cycle.
Jim
so we
Cameron
probably
gave
will
us a
just,
call and said, "Hey, you guys need to get back on the air."
it's gonna be like, instead of like Soups like shaking hands with a Tom Cruise on the set of Mission Impossible, it's gonna be us like thumbs up with James Cameron in New Zealand, like on a giant set. And it'll all be worth it. You'll be so influenced by us.
You'll be so influenced, incredibly. You're not going to believe how influenced
because
you'll be.
The $2.7 billion movies need our influence. That's
They
for
do.
Sure.
They do.
No, Dune Part 2, really, really good. Loved it. Definitely one of my favorite blockbusters of not only the last 2 years, but 5-10 years, way back from when I can remember. Also, a lot of cool smaller movies have come out. I know recently I saw Weapons this summer, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then it's also like a $30 million movie that was like kind of just punched above its weight. And I was like, oh crap. How did they pull some of this off?
Yeah.
At that budget range? And kind of was like one of those movies that, like, I'm sure you've had like inklings of this over the last 2 years. You're like, man, filmmaking is cool. I want to go abandon everything and go on a desert island and just watch movies all the time.
Or
that was
just
one of those
abandon
movies for me.
everything and try to, I'm moving to Hollywood. I'm going to make
Yeah.
it big.
Yes. Like the whole throw everything in the back of your car. I'm leaving. I'm going to LA.
Yep.
Oh,
The American
does sound
dream,
like a
baby.
dream. What else? We've had like, how many? We've had like 2 full Oscar seasons,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Since everything went down with the end of our last episode.
Mhm. I'll say
what are
in January 2024, I watched a lot. I actually ended up watching a good amount of movies, and one of them that I know many people had tried to get me to watch for a very long time was La La Land, and that movie just sticks with you. And I know a lot of people obviously have seen that, I'm sure, but whenever you watch that movie, I mean that stuck with me. It stuck with me for the next year and a half. La La Land is such a fantastic movie musical. It's just everything that I think a movie musical should be. And I was actually in the car just yesterday with my little brother, and my little brother, he's very much into music in the last couple of years, like extremely into music, but he loves and he's not going to listen to this, so I can say this. John listens to, and I love him to death. He's my favorite person in the world. John listens to the shittiest pop songs you've ever heard regularly, but not just that.
So he's a real Diet Pepsi, Addison Rae kind of guy.
Well, sometimes I wish it was more along those lines. You don't even know music can get to this level until you hear it all the time. But not even that. He listens to the Kids Bop versions of those. So they take like the worst songs out there, and then they just like up the octaves maybe like 7 times to where it's nasally and just like high pitched. It's like, ooh, I love him to death. Anyways, we were in the car, and I don't have Kids Bop on my phone, and he knows this, so that's a non-negotiable. That's a non-starter for me. But we were in the car, and he loves to just skip through songs. He doesn't even let them play. Like, he'll shuffle my entire library, or he'll go find a playlist of mine, and he'll hit shuffle, and he'll just skip through every single one, even if they're ones he knows, if he likes. Like, he won't let it play for 5 seconds, and I'll just be like, oh, that's a good one, and it's gone before it starts. It's just who he is. But just yesterday, Another Day of Sun from La La Land came on, and I like when your mom like reaches across the thing, and like when you're hitting the brake and just like stop, as if you're gonna fly out of the windshield. I did that even though we were not in a dangerous, precarious situation. I reached over. I was like, no, we're not skipping this. We're not skipping Another Day of Sun. You're gonna listen to this song and you're gonna like it. And he did. And So I think things like that, John's hard to impress in terms of really anything at all. And he'll tell you when he's not impressed in terms of anything at all. And he was impressed by Another Day of Sun from La La Land. So that movie sticks with you. And even the details of it, even if you're not seeing the amazing choreography in that number and all of the incredible cinematography and the colors and everything, even just listening to the music, something like that can still be affecting for someone like John who listens to the most BB Rexa, Tate McRae
Oh, not Tate McRae.
genre and I that you could ever even come up with. Another Day of Sun is now added to the library for John. Hopefully they don't make a Kids Bop version.
I hope they don't, but it does just confirm that that movie has 0 skips, and
Done.
that movie may give me eternal depression, but
Mhm.
soundtrack good.
Yeah, but soundtrack top tier analysis.
That's what we're here for. What else has been? I'm trying to look at my diary of things of movies that have both come out and old movies that I've watched or watched for the first time.
Last year, one that came out there were a couple that came out that I saw, but the heavy hitters I think of last summer at least in terms of box office and what had everybody showing up was the two that I saw that I think of particularly were Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. And those are big like franchise movies, they're big sequels and all that, but I think that it's interesting to look back on both of those actually about a year later.
Yeah, totally.
Because I liked Inside Out 2. I didn't think it was as good as the first one, but I enjoyed it. And then Deadpool and Wolverine, I saw it the first time and I laughed a good bit, but I can't say I thought about it again ever. Especially now, I'm like, they made a Hugh Jackman Wolverine movie less than a year ago. Can you even? My automatic reaction to that statement is no, they didn't.
You know what I saw today? Actually, this is hilarious. It was a clip of someone analyzing the lyrics of the Bo Burnham songs because I guess he mentions Deadpool in one of the songs in the Inside movie. And
Which
then
have
someone
you
pulled
seen
a podcast clip.
for the record?
Nope,
Get
nope.
it on the mic right
For the
now?
record,
Okay.
for the record,
Okay.
I have not seen.
I'll stop.
Here we go.
Leave it
So
some dead silence after that.
he hates Deadpool, and he was talking about how Deadpool is like, people are like, oh, Deadpool's one of us. He's ironic, and just like he kind of is just like, screw this, and breaking the fourth wall, and it's supposed to be like this like relatable, like funny guy. And he was contrasting that with like, okay, really, Deadpool is like the $200 million Disney backed merger. The only reason they have Deadpool is because they did this merger and like all this stuff, and like that really it's just a corporation selling back the idea of irony and like funniness to you. And like when I think back on that movie, I was like, it's kind of what I think of now. It's just like I had fun in the moment, but at what cost to like, is this what movies and fun and like it just felt like it was created in a lab the more I think about
Absolutely.
it to like reverse manufacture what intellectual property could be.
Yeah.
And then I think about like, again, jumping the gun here, but like the earnesty and sincerity of something like Superman
Yeah.
being like the complete antithesis to like that approach that Deadpool and Wolverine
Yeah.
did. And I was like, man, I so prefer the Superman approach 1,000 times over. And I'm glad that movie was successful because now it wasn't as nearly as successful as Deadpool and Wolverine. And so who knows what havoc that will ultimately see with the lessons
I would say though, like
from Marvel
in a year, like because we're like roughly a year and maybe 2 months since Deadpool and Wolverine right now,
past it.
a year and a month.
Yeah, I
In
still don't even
that
know when he's gonna show up
amount of
again.
time post Superman, which would be about a year from now, I would say comparatively, after a year and 2 months of Superman. More people will remember Superman than currently
Yes,
remember Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Like,
I hope so.
I have to believe that because Superman, like, it just Deadpool and Wolverine. I look back on it, and I don't look back on it. That's the thing is, I just
Yeah,
it
very
does
true.
not come to my mind as something that happened. I cannot believe that they. And not only did they get Hugh Jackman to come back as Wolverine, but they got him to come back as Wolverine. Number one, that's insane. People wanted that for so long and didn't think it would happen. And this iconic casting. And then they give him the suit, the Wolverine suit, the comic Wolverine suit that, again, people have wanted for a very long time that Fox never did in any of their X-Men movies. That's a huge deal after over 20 years of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You're giving him the suit. And then they're pairing him with Deadpool, an incredibly successful character, both critically and financially in his first two films. And again, a pairing that people really wanted to happen for a long time and kind of just resigned to the fact that it probably wouldn't, but people certainly wanted for so long. They do all of that, and then it's just so cookie cutter. There's nothing to remember about it. It has no balls. Superman has a lot of balls.
Yeah.
Superman takes risks. It goes out there. It has something to say, and it does feel very fresh and it feels uh very unique. And I think one thing about Superman, even beyond the fact that it didn't make a whole well, it was successful, but that it wasn't as successful as maybe some of the more hardcore fans of it wanted to be, like you and I. I think it did so much more for the DC brand going forward. I think they needed a movie like this that was, you know, relatively successful, which it was. It wasn't like the biggest hit ever, but it was relatively successful. And enough people saw it because the general audience perception of DC is like dark, gloomy, serious compared to Marvel, happy, lighthearted, fun. That's just kind of in a nutshell what it is. And I think Superman probably did a good bit to reverse a lot of that, because of how optimistic it was, because of how bright it was, because of how fun it was, and because how truly different it feels. And I'm a fan of a lot of Zack Snyder's films, and I'm certainly a fan of Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight films and the Batman from Matt Reeves, but it is very different from all of those movies tonally, and I think that did a lot for DC as a brand going forward. So I do think that a lot of people will remember Superman, or at least share it with people, or it seems like they're kind of building around it with Supergirl, and Man of Tomorrow was recently announced as the direct sequel to it, and I think he's probably going to make an appearance in Peacemaker season 2. That has not happened, but they've I feel like it's going to happen, but I don't know. I think it's going to have a little more sticking power because of a lot of those reasons that you mentioned. It's very unique in its approach. It's very different. It's not just trying to, you know, it's not. It's certainly not forgettable in the way that a lot of others have been.
Yeah, and that's something else that's happened really of like um just to show you how much can change in 2 years is we've went from Marvel being on top of the world. They were already kind of tapering off 2 years ago, but now
Certainly not to where it is
um
now.
it's it's crazy to think that there is an Avengers movie coming out tentatively the end of next year, and I feel zero emotions towards any momentum towards anything happening in that movie.
I feel dread.
And I feel terrified for what the script could even
I
be.
don't think they
What they
know. I
are
don't think it's
I
known yet.
don't think they know. And so that goes off this whole thing of like I think they're just throwing spaghetti at a wall, and I think the audiences are starting to reject that a little bit. Now, granted, Marvel's made some good movies
Yeah.
since
I
this
liked
has happened,
Fantastic
but
Four. Did you see
I like
Fantastic Four?
Fantastic
I liked
Four,
it. I thought Superman. I
and
like Superman better, but I certainly had a lot of fun with Fantastic Four. Thought it was maybe the best
me too.
Fantastic Four movie.
You know what I like more than that though is I really like Thunderbolts, and it's a shame that that movie isn't hyped up enough because audiences have basically rejected stuff in and around that. So when there's an original property, it's not theatrical enough that people want to show up and invest in a new story because there's still the stigma of like, oh my gosh, we're on like the 30-second Marvel movie. I need to know all this stuff. And it's just, I don't know. So
I think it would
it's
be
honestly like,
a really interesting episode, not to cut in, but if we were to do an episode over like how would we fix Marvel? What would we do? How do you do that?
it's so funny because we have these conversations at work all the time. And I often rant about how I'm like, we just need a new phase one. Like, it really, the reason people feel like that there's like this weird limbo state of Marvel is because we have like half of the characters are still like from the old era who are then supposed to like, you're supposed to remember the continuity of and then like care for them because you know that continuity. But then you have the new characters who are interacting with the old characters, but immediately you're trying to force the same hype of the old characters into this new story. And then audiences reject the new characters because they're just constantly reminded of like, oh man, wish Chris Evans was here, wish Robert Downey Jr. was here,
Yeah.
wish whatever. So like you don't give each new franchise enough time to breathe and like build up. Like the reason Captain America worked, the reason Thor worked, the reason Iron Man worked is because they all had their own little worlds to inhabit. And by the time it built up to the Avengers, even the Avengers in 2012, or the team ups, I think about like how hype like Civil War was when that movie came out. Like, but they all had 3 or 4 movies on their own to like build up as characters and experiment with different genres and get people invested in each of the different things that the characters brought to the table. It's like you just don't have that anymore. And then it's like, boom, here's Avengers Doomsday, and don't think too hard that Robert Downey Jr. is a different character, but he is, and
It's such a
whatever.
Yeah, I can't even. I have such a hard time with that. I really do. Like, I just, maybe they pull it off. He's a very good actor. Doom is a fascinating character. I've heard they're doing the whole CGI mask thing, which makes me want to just crumple into a ball and die. Who knows what happens this year, though? Carson, we talked a little bit about Superman and talked a little bit about weapons. That was this summer. A bit about Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts, and I kind of want to use that as a segue into this year because there have been some good movies that have come out this year, some of which I just mentioned, and others that we haven't mentioned yet. One that I kind of want to talk about right now is Sinners. What an experience that movie was. I'm not over that one.
I'm kicking myself because I did not see it in theaters, and I just recently watched it like 2 months ago. I'm at home, and it was, of course, amazing at home.
Yep.
But like, whenever it hopefully gets re-released on IMAX, that's gonna be like a day one thing for me because I can't imagine how glorious that was. Didn't you drive like 2 hours to go see it in IMAX?
Okay.
By the way,
so I did not drive 2 hours. Well, I was okay. I was already going to Dallas for something else.
For work, right? Or for something else.
I can't even remember, to be quite honest. It wasn't for work. So it was something for my sister, maybe. I don't know. One way or another, I had something important going on, and I squeezed in Sinners, which that's a 6-hour drive. I squeezed in Sinners, and I got there, and I went there immediately whenever I got there. I drove straight into the theater, basically, and saw it in 70 millimeter IMAX, which was just so cool. It was the first time I'd seen something in 70 millimeter. Unbelievable. I felt the worst part about it was nothing about the movie. I had already seen it, which was good for this scenario. But the worst part about it was so I pulled up, right? And, you go on like a 6-hour road trip. You don't exactly show up on time most of the time. And I didn't show up on
stuff happened.
I showed up. I was like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes in. I don't think there were any trailers because it was 70 millimeter. So it's a whole different projection system and all that. So they didn't even have trailers, I don't think. And so I was like thinking the whole time, I was like, okay, I'll be good with trailers. And then I get there and I texted our group chat actually with some of our friends. I said, hey, do they have trailers for these 70 millimeters? and all of our
You immediately
film.
were bullied.
Yeah, I know. How do you not know this? And they did not have trailers, and so I got in there, and man, I had my. I'm glad I didn't get like popcorn or like uh anything to open loudly, because my seat. I got this ticket like when they dropped. Like I got this ticket way in advance, so my seat was
So you were dead in the center.
smack dab in the middle of that thing. And the theater in the 70 millimeter, it's very compact. Like they only have, there's not a lot of leg room in these places. There's not recliners the way that there are in a lot of other theaters, because they're trying to smash as many chairs as they can that can see this humongous screen. And so I'm like just trying to tiptoe through people. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I think I knocked over somebody's popcorn. I think
Oh,
I might have tripped
brutal.
over something, which is just like a TMI, but adds to the
No,
story.
after sitting for 6
Yeah,
hours,
I was
like, yeah,
sweaty from sitting in my car and from like running to the theater, like running in
yeah.
almost essentially, or like fast walking at the very least. God, it was so embarrassing. And I just sat down and I was like, I can't move for the rest of this movie. Not that I planned to, but like I had
Not a
just gotten out
single
of the
breath,
car
not a
6 hours.
single
I was a little worried I was gonna have to
cough.
be in the middle of the movie, because I
Yeah.
just tripped over
Lock
like
in.
20 straight people, and I felt terrible for all of them, by myself no less. Just this random little boy going to see Sinners, tripping over everybody on the way in. But it was fantastic. I loved that movie, and I loved seeing it in 70 millimeter. There were so many moments that, I remember specifically when the first time they used the full aspect ratio, my jaw just dropped. It was a cut to,
When in the movie did they first do that?
so it's when they're in the little buggy, they're traveling. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, and when he first starts singing to, or like when they get on the road.
It's like the opening of that scene. There's a shot of the
Mm.
sun, and it's only a couple seconds long, but it's just a shot of the sun just straight up. Which is kind of a cool way to just kind of open the scene, I guess, showing like, bright sun, hot as hell out there, and
Yeah.
but that was the first scene, and the sun's smack dab in the middle of the frame. And that was the first scene, the first shot, if I'm not mistaken, that they used the full aspect ratio on it. And it's not like a gradual sort of thing, the way they do in some sort of aspect ratio shifts. Like it's
Yeah, it's
just,
just like boom, there it is.
yeah, and it's cut from, I can't remember, maybe like the train. No, it wouldn't be the train. I don't remember what they're cutting from before that scene, but
Yeah.
just the fact that it's just a shot of the sun, just like bam, and it's bright and it's in your face and it's humongous on that screen. My jaw dropped. I remember when that happened. I was like, "Oh my god, that was incredible." Now I'm realizing after telling this story that I'm not really the most reliable person to ask that question to, because I was 15 minutes late to the movie. So that might not.
Yeah, you probably did miss the first
There's a
aspect
chance.
ratio change.
There's a pretty good chance I've actually missed it.
Hey,
Oh,
this is
but
why
that was a good one.
this is
That was
why
my first one.
this will hold us accountable for future
Yep.
releases
Yep.
that we cannot. And yeah, I know I have that problem
Don't
too
be late
of
to 70
showing up to
millimeter
movies.
kids. They don't have no
Hmm.
trailers in those.
They, but anyways, also speaking of just like cool things that have happened this year, like both Sinners and Weapons and like some other original movies doing really good. I was
Sinners
like
was
that. It
Sinners did
feels
so well.
it it feels awesome that like that's sort of it feels like it's sort of uh the tides are shifting kind of moment that like there's always people that are like, oh, there's just nothing original, and Hollywood doesn't make anything original, which like yes, from a 5,000-foot view, like that's broadly true that like it's very hard to make something that's both original and popular these days. There's obviously still thousands of movies that are original and just aren't widely seen because it's just so much noise.
Yeah.
But these two movies doing what they did and Sinners being the success that it was is just awesome because it's such a cool, unique movie with a unique message. And I was like, I think I wrote like some cheeky one-liner letterbox review. I was like, this like making me believe in the post-credit scene again. Like I was like, dang, like because I was thinking like, okay, it makes sense that it's post-credit scene, but also it could have been the ending scene. But then I thought about it again and I was like, I'm so glad that it is the post credit
Yeah.
scene, and it like kind of adds like just like an after statement that's not a tease, but like thematically ties the whole movie together.
It's nice to see
Perfect.
a post-credit scene utilized as an epilogue instead
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
commercial for the
That's a
next
great
one.
way to put it.
Like that I feel like that, not that I dislike the hype, there are some post-credit scenes that I do enjoy that kind of get me excited. I think Avengers Doomsday is going to be a a disaster, quite frankly. It's
It's
going
gonna
to
be a
be
doomsday.
I was trying to find a pun. It's going to be a doomsday. I think it's going to be bad. That said, though, all things considered, at the same time, I would be lying if I said that the post credit scene in Fantastic Four, where it shows him, Doom with the baby, I would be lying if I didn't kind of like get a little butterflies in that moment. I was like, oh my God, it's Doctor Doom. Like, now I do. I think it's gonna. Immediately afterward, I was like, that's gonna be such a bad movie.
Yeah,
Like they
you had to like talk to
they
yourself
did
and
so
like
good in the
come back
Fantastic
down to
Four.
earth.
They introduced these characters. I think they did better than they've ever done with these four characters, and I'm so happy for that. And I really bought into it, and I really liked it. I didn't think it was amazing, but I was like just excited over the fact that they made a good Fantastic Four movie that I really enjoyed and
Totally.
am looking forward to rewatching. Um, and then the immediate real and the hype of the post credit scene. Oh my God, that's Doctor Doom. That's so exciting. Oh my God, Doomsday. And then just immediately like, oh, they're gonna ruin these characters. Oh my God.
You just know, like, I hate that I even tapped into any of this speculation crap. That it was like, I saw like the thing of like, well, what if Spider-Man sees his face and goes, "Mr. Stark, is that you?"
I'll lose my
It's just
mind.
like,
I'll lose my
this
Reddit is
this
writing
is
this movie.
everything wrong. If that happens, we're canceling the podcast.
It's over.
That's just what's gonna happen.
I don't even, it's over. It's all done. I thought Fantastic Four was good because effectively it wasn't an MCU movie at all.
Yes,
It was so
finally could just be in its own time.
right. It was self-contained. It was its own thing. You don't have to worry about cameos. You don't even have to worry about even if the cameos or the other appearances fit within the story. There's a lot of other stories that happen in the MCU that they're including different, like Punisher is going to be a supporting character in the new Spider-Man movie. And it's probably, I think it'll probably make sense. I think it'll probably be weaved in perfectly. I think that'll be great. But it was kind of cool to see a Fantastic Four movie that was just the Fantastic Four. You didn't have to, even if they were well included and good for the narrative side characters, you just didn't have to make those connections in your brain of like, oh, he's from this and that's why he said that, when they make sly references to their past or whatever, which they do all the time. I thought that was why Fantastic Four was as good as it was for me, was because it was not an MCU movie. Effectively, it was not. There were no connections. There was, even the Doctor Doom stuff, even the post credit with Doctor Doom. Obviously, it will connect to Doomsday and all that. As it is, that's new. That's all new. It's all its own thing. And I really just, it was nice. It was a breath of fresh air because you think back to the phase one movies, like you're talking about, we didn't think about that stuff when Captain America came out. I guess there was the connection with Howard Stark a little bit, but even then,
It wasn't nearly as emphasized, like, or
no. And Thor, like Thor's a
perceptually,
great
it wasn't.
example.
Yeah,
Thor, like Thor 1, Thor is Thor. There is nothing in that movie that connects to something else happening in the universe.
the biggest bummer about Fantastic Four to me is I wish the movie came out 5 years ago and had its own natural through line, just like Thor, Captain America, all those guys did. It sucks that we have a great first appearance from them, and then they're immediately in Avengers Doomsday as their next appearance. To me, that's a huge bummer.
That's why I was kind of bummed out whenever you realize that's their next appearance, because it says the Fantastic Four will return in Doomsday. It's like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
We don't get a Fantastic Four 2. We don't get
It's just
even like I don't even know, a Disney Plus spinoff show of, Johnny Storm. I don't care. Like, we don't get some sort of natural continuation of these characters in this story. We just are immediately putting them into this larger story somehow that makes no sense still how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
But Yeah, I almost wish we were like alternating Fantastic Four and X-Men movies for like 4 years. Like honestly, like I would have taken something that was like no other MCU movies came out post Endgame except Fantastic Four and X-Men movies, and then like those characters anchored the new team up movies. It would have been pretty cool. And then obviously Spider-Man, but again, it's just tough when you get to a point of like line go up, we need to make money on
That's
all
kind
these
of
movies.
that's the issue with all of it. I think Marvel would be
Yeah.
so much more successful if they were able to take like a 5-year hiatus
Oh, can you imagine?
after Endgame. Like, maybe release Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but other than that, just be able to take a break. But they couldn't do that. So, because there's money to be made and the mouse stops for no one. As I've learned in personal experience, Mickey Mouse needs his paychecks, including Bob Iger as well. What else came out this
If he
summer that I
ever
liked?
retires.
Yeah, he tried and then nearly ran the company in the ground with the
They
other
needed him
Bob.
back.
Yeah, they need, and that's I'm far be it from me to as the kids say glaze a CEO of a corporation, but man, as a lifelong Disney guy, I'm wearing a Pixar hat, Walt Disney World shirt. I can't even fake it right now.
You can't,
Um,
yeah, you
I am who I am. As a lifelong Disney guy, it's like that Chapek era was not good at all the for the films, for the TV, and especially for what I care about, the parks. It was disastrous. But this summer, some other good stuff came out. I liked The Naked Gun a lot, and I have not seen its predecessors,
yeah.
but I loved that movie. I was laughing. A joke every 45 seconds is such a risk to take, and when it's got like a 95% hit rate, that's insane. Did you see
It's
that movie?
pretty dang good. No, and I've been wanting to watch it.
It's pretty
Because I have
unbelievable how
seen
every
the
single joke is
original.
funny.
Yeah. And they were worried that it was like because it's like old style sarcasm and like or not sarcasm, like it's just a different style of joke that I don't necessarily think people in their 20s would have found funny. But it seems like everyone I talked to that has seen it and know nothing about Naked Gun is like, oh my gosh, it was freaking hilarious.
Yeah, so that's kind of the last 2 years. We are going to be continuing. This is not a one-time reunion of Zollypod and then we are gone. That is not what's happening here. We will be releasing new episodes and we will be talking about new things, including but not limited to Avatar Fire and Ash, which we are not getting paid for. But if you, hey
We could
Disney,
be.
hey Jim,
We could be paid
if
for.
you want to pay us, like, well, dang it, you actually, like, you let us see the movie 24 hours early. That's it. I don't need money.
That's all we need.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's 6 hours early. I don't care. Enough to where I can get out and be like, I saw it. Have fun. What are you excited for as the remainder of this year? And really, I guess, almost broadly, even more so just for the future of this podcast.
Yeah. So in terms of the podcast, I think I'm just excited to like try and build this back up and build it past what we kind of accomplished before and like really get a consistency with it, talk about a variety of different things, kind of hopefully build some sort of community around it eventually, like somewhere that we can both talk about the things that we're watching, but also, more broadly, what's happening with movies. I think we kind of default to that sometimes because it's fun to talk about like, oh, look at the trajectory of Marvel and how it's affected the movie business. Like I think we kind of nerd out over like the broader picture of how movies and the business works. And I think it's fun to analyze that, but then also like nerd out about like, you know, individual filmmakers and maybe old movies that we haven't watched. Or I know it's going to be fun to like introduce each other to movies that we've really appreciated that the other person hasn't seen, stuff like that. I'm excited to talk to other people and interview people and bring people on this podcast that also have perspectives on movies and everything in between. So I think that's going to be a fun feature of whatever these episodes look like going forward. And then, yeah, movies wise, like 2026 is kind of insane. A lot of big movies coming out, a lot of smaller filmmakers coming back. I think next year is going to be pretty big. The rest of this year, too, there's some really fun things coming out. Obviously, I'm looking forward to something like Avatar. but also like, we have Oscar season coming up. I'm excited for like Wake Up Dead Man's coming out. We
Yeah.
got all sorts of movies from big filmmakers that some of which we've talked about on the podcast
Supergirl and
before.
Spider-Man are next year if we're talking about the
That's crazy.
superhero genre. Like that's next year, along with the ones that we've talked about. But it's pretty crazy that that's next year. They just announced, and this isn't really maybe our niche, but the Super Mario Galaxy movie is coming out starring Mario Chris Pratt.
Yep. And I love Super Mario Galaxy, so I'll be so curious because I didn't really like the movie.
Toy Story 5.
This movie, I feel like that's going to be a 2-hour and 40-minute episode podcast
That could be
from us about reflecting about the deeper meaning of should they make a sequel or should they not?
Yeah.
But yes, lots of stuff coming out.
Lots of good stuff coming out. Lots of things to be excited for. I'm really excited to have more guests on this show and get back into that. I know we had some really great interviews in the past, and I'm looking forward to kind of getting back into that and having some interesting guests on the pod because, again, that was kind of the original vision of this show. We want to create a space where we can obviously, have our own kind of podcast the way that we have for the last 52 minutes, give or take. But that being said, also to where not only it's just us talking, but where we kind of get some insight and talk to some people about what their role within the industry is and what they do and why they love it and those sorts of things. And I think that that'll be something that I'm excited for personally, whether it's talking about movies or just production in general, I think is just really fascinating. There's so many different angles with that. I'm really excited to talk to different people and get their perspectives and be able to share some of those stories on here as well. It's going to be fun. I'm excited for it. And we are going to remain, whether you like it or not. I'm looking directly at the camera right now.
On all platforms.
We are going to remain on all platforms. That is a threat.
So you have to, with that said, you have to follow us now.
Follow right
if
now.
If you're new, especially.
Subscribe
and if you are new, you can go back to season 1.
Season 1. Because this is season 2.
You're not watching. This is season 2 of Zollypod.
And it will be never ending. We may never switch to a season 3 because we're going to be so consistent.
If we get to episode 299 and then what do we do? Well, 299.1. Get ready.
Yep. That just goes on till 299.99. This is how long we're going for this thing. You're in it for the long haul, listeners. Carson, final thoughts? Anything that we haven't talked about that you want to mention before we hop off this thing?
Oh, just excited to be back. And yeah, like we said, there's going to be regular episodes coming, and we're excited to put our heads together and come up with some unique episode ideas as well. This is obviously just kind of a kickoff episode to kind of announce that we're back, but we're definitely going to come up with some fun things as the year goes on. I think back to like our Halloween horror episodes. I can't wait for that time of year. It's personally one of my favorite holidays. So definitely.
Right now. I mean, we got like 2 weeks.
Right now. Get ready.
Yeah. We're just going to turn into a Halloween podcast. Gotcha. We're just
trick or treat
every fall.
Rewatch.
Trick or treat rewatch. No, that'll be great. We got a lot of good stuff that we're excited to bring back to this podcast and excited. So like we said, if you have not subscribed, make sure you do so because we will be back. If you have not turned on your notifications, make sure you do so. You can follow us on social media at Zollypod, and we will be back with the next one very soon.